Greetings and salutations. This is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello.
And we have today a command for our Corinthian army, Adeimantus is his name. Interesting chap.
Why do all their names end in tus?
I don't know, maybe it means son of or something, I don't know. It's foreign. We've already done the Corinthians, already run down a brief description of the Corinthians and their amazing flying horses. This chap came into the public eye really when the Second Greco-Persian War was seriously kicking off. At the time, the Athenians had been pushed out of Athens. They'd retreated from Athens in boats and fled to Salamis and the entire population. And they had a big council of war in Corinth, and obviously because he was in Corinth, the Corinthian commander had probably a lot more to say about it than most people, and you had all the senior commanders there, and the Athenians were saying that what we really need to do is launch a naval campaign and fight a big battle in Salamis Bay, because there, even though we'll be trapped in the bay, they'll be trapped in the bay too, right? And then we can try and defeat them there. Adeimantus didn't want to do that. He actually wanted to get rid of the ships and retreat the ships further away and try and fight a land campaign based around defending the waterway, the causeway that led to Corinth. And they did actually spend a lot of time fortifying that particular causeway, which didn't really matter in the end. But when he was arguing with Themistocles and a chap called Aristides, Aristides was the sort of ground commander of the Athenian forces, and Themistocles was the land commander. And they had fallen out previously, but at this moment they were actually allied to each other. And they were trying to argue the point with Adeimantus, and Adeimantus said that he didn't think that the Athenians' word mattered during this discussion because Athens had already been overrun. So the Athenians are a people without land. They've escaped. The Athenians may not be dead, but they no longer have skin in the game because they've run away. And in reply to this, Themistocles said that because they had they had already lost troops, they'd already been fighting the war, then they had their lands had been conquered, they had more reason to be listened to by the rest of the council. You're following it so far? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to skip a lot of the stuff because there's a lot of stuff that's not important. I'm trying to give you the bullet points. Right, so what it came down to was Adeimantus said that he stands up and cheers during the chariot race. Before the chariot race is over, he gets whipped. Basically saying to Themistocles that he's speaking before his time. Or he's speaking when he doesn't have a position to speak from. And Themistocles said, those who stand up do get whipped before it's over, but those who do not stand up do not win.
Okay.
Make sense?
No. What's that quote mean?
Those who don't take part don't win. If you're not taking part, you haven't got a... You can't... If you're not putting...
You can't claim anything if you don't.
Yeah, and the Corinthians had avoided fighting up to this point, but barring 400 troops who had actually gone off to fight. 400 men went to fight alongside Leonidas. But other than that, Corinth had not committed to battle. Whereas the Athenians had committed heavily to battle already and had already lost their city. So what Themistocles was actually saying to Adeimantus was that he had a higher position to speak from because he was the one who was actually taking part in the fighting. So Athens should be the one that people should listen to. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's a bit like Marius. Marius with Rome. He said to the Senate, They said, why do we have to listen to you, Marius? And Marius said, I have many wounds, and all of them are to the front. In other words, he always faces his enemy in battle, he never runs away.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Wow, that ended up a lot longer than I thought it would be. Any questions?
Yeah.
Go on.
Is he possibly resembling with his helmet the Pegasus?
Yes. That, you're good, aren't you? It's also a symbol of command.
It's showing that he's in charge, yeah.
Yeah. It's popular among some Greeks. Mainly the Dorian Greeks. Not so much the normal Greeks. He's got the Corinthian helmet. He's holding a dory. And he has a dead Persian at his feet, which is always the best place for a Persian to be. And you've got the normal Athenian cloak and the coppice. Again, the coppice was the primary weapon used by Corinthians. Well, I say that, but in pottery and things, you tend to find Corinthians hold coppices more than they hold the xiphon, the stabby sword. And also in Gravegood finds and other archaeological things around the area, they tend to find more coppice than the other type. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So when I say they normally use this, that is where I'm getting that from. It's not as off the top of my head, and I haven't read any treatises saying it. It's just a conclusion I came to myself through all the stuff I've read. So, right, sorry, next question.
That's it.
That's it?
Wait, what's his skill like?
He's pretty average, to be honest. Experienced. No, that's about it. He's okay. Nothing special. So that it?
Yeah.
Right, that ends the video. Not much to say about this guy. He didn't really do much else after. He's not really known for doing much, but he was actually there during that meeting, the important meeting where the Greeks decided to unite and fight the Persians as one army, which is kind of a really important point of Western society, really, because it's the moment. Democracy is useless unless you are willing to defend it.
Die for it, Dad.
Sorry, die for it. Good point. Lay down your life for it. Yeah. It's great having a democracy, but if you're not willing to actually put yourself forward. Actually, thinking about it, doesn't that speech of Themistocles actually directly link to that?
Yes, there's nothing.
It does, doesn't it? Those who do not stand up do not win. Yeah.
But it doesn't really imply when it comes to dictatorship. Because they stood up and they fought democracy and then they became in charge. So I was saying that the dictatorships are also good people. So it doesn't really link as well nowadays.
Well, what if you have a dictator who's elected? We've had many dictators who were elected. Most of the Romans were dictators who were elected. Julius Caesar was a dictator. In the literal form of the word, obviously, but he was also a dictator. He commanded the Senate.
An emperor is...
Emperor is just Roman for dictator, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the Queen of England is a dictator.
No, because she has no actual power.
Oh yeah, it got taken away because of the...
Yes, because she doesn't have the divine right of kings.
And Magna Carta.
The Magna Carta took away the power of the king because they're not born of God. See, the king said we should rule because we have the right to rule, because God has made us the right to rule. Well, no, your grandfather's battle axe gave you the right to rule. You don't have any more power over anyone else. There's a passage in the Bible about eyes, something to cut people's eyes out.
No, sorry, I've done that exam. I'm not going to think about it ever again.
Oh, you've done this exam then. An eye for an eye. What is an eye for an eye? The term an eye for an eye come from?
I do something to you, you do something to me. Basically, I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Kind of, but no. What it means is the eye of a king is the same price as the eye of a peasant or a slave.
What about a tooth for a tooth?
Same. Because in the olden days, if a king's son was killed, the king would demand a massive amount of money in exchange because you killed his son. If you killed a peasant, no one cared. But the term eye for an eye simply means the king's son died is exactly the same as a peasant dying. It's the Pax Romana, actually. It's the same idea behind the Pax Romana. You are one Roman citizen, you offend the whole of Rome. That's basically what the Pax Romana is. Which is why Romans, you didn't allow your, if you lived on the border of Rome and a Roman citizen was in the town, you wouldn't let your people hurt him, because if they hurt him, the entire Roman legions would march down and burn your town to the ground, because you didn't harm a Roman. That was the price of living in Rome. You had to obey the Romans, but you were under the protection of Rome. That's quite deep. Right, I think that's the end of the video.
Yep.
So, outro.
If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of...
Oh, sorry, his name? Adeimantus.
Yep. That's it for me.
He was a singer back in the 80s. Very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
And everything from him. Goodbye.
See ya.